Captain Jake Coleman stared at the main screen of his ship. What he saw made his stomach turn. Giant alien warships filled the space around the planet Zephyr Prime. These were not just any ships. They belonged to the Caltharian Empire, the most feared force in this part of the galaxy. The Caltharians had ruled for 300 years. No one could stop them. Their ships were huge and covered in what looked like living metal. The metal moved and changed shape. It was both machine and creature at the same time. When the Caltharians wanted to destroy something, their ships would grow new weapons right from their hulls. Jake's ship, the Aurora's Edge, was small and weak compared to the monster ships outside. He was supposed to watch and record what happened. The Terran Colonial Authority wanted to know how wars were fought out here. They called it neutral observation. Jake called it watching people die. Captain, the Zephyrian Defense Fleet is moving. Into position, said Dr. Lisa Martinez. She was the ship's science officer. Her job was to study alien life forms. Today, she was studying death. Jake nodded. He had met some Zephyrians before. They were good people. They looked like tall, thin humans with blue skin and 4 arms. They loved art and music. They had never hurt anyone. But the Caltharians did not care about that. On the screen, 30 Zephyrian ships moved toward the Caltharian fleet. The Zephyrian ships were beautiful. They were white and silver, shaped like flowers made of metal. But there were only 30 of them. The Caltharians had over 200 ships. This is not going to be a fair fight, muttered Ryan Brooks. He was the chief engineer. Ryan was a big man with rough hands and a kind heart. He fixed things. But he could not fix what was about to happen. The Caltharian flagship was the biggest ship Jake had ever seen. It was called the Devourer of Worlds. The main fit. The ship was 5 miles long and covered in spikes and teeth-like structures. Strange lights pulsed along its hull like a heartbeat. At the front of the ship was a massive, mouth-like opening that could swallow smaller ships whole. Supreme Admiral Vextar commanded the Caltharian fleet from that ship. Jake had seen pictures of him. Vextar was 7 feet tall with gray skin and red eyes. He had tentacles instead of hair and spoke in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. The alien had conquered 47 star systems. Today would be 48. The Zephyrians are sending a message, Lisa said. She put it on the speakers. Caltharian fleet, this is Admiral Geltar of the Zephyrian Republic. We ask you to leave our system in peace. We have done nothing to harm your empire. Our people wish only to live free. The reply came quickly. Vextar's horrible voice filled the bridge. Your freedom ends today. Surrender now, and some of you may live as slaves. Resist, and you will all die. We choose to resist, Geltar replied. His voice was sad but strong. Jake felt sick. He wanted to help, but his orders were clear. Watch only. Do not get involved. The Aurora's Edge had only basic weapons anyway. They would be destroyed in seconds. The battle began without warning. The Caltharian ships did not use normal weapons. Instead, they shot out streams of black liquid. When the liquid hit Zephyrian ships, it began to eat through the metal. The ships started to dissolve from the inside out. My God, Lisa whispered, those are bioweapons. The liquid is alive. It's consuming the ships and everything inside them. Jake watched in horror as Zephyrian crews tried to escape in small pods. But the Caltharian ships grew long tentacles that grabbed the pods and crushed them. No one was allowed to survive. One Zephyrian ship tried to ram a Caltharian vessel. It was a brave move, but useless. The Caltharian ship's hull simply opened up like a mouth and swallowed the Zephyrian ship completely. Then the hull closed again. Captain, I'm picking up life signs inside that Caltharian ship, Lisa said. Her voice shook. The Zephyrians are still alive in there. The ship is ... It's digesting them slowly. Ryan stood up from his station. His face was red with anger. We have to do something. We can't just sit here and watch this. Our orders are to observe only, Jake said. But his own hands were shaking. We're not supposed to interfere. Then our orders are wrong. Ryan shouted. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted only 2 hours. When it was over, every Zephyrian ship was gone. The planet below was covered in the same black bioweapon. From space, Jake could see the cities dying. The oceans turned black. Nothing would survive. Vic Star's voice came over the radio again. This time, he was speaking to the galaxy. Let this be a lesson to all who think they can resist the Caltharian Empire. We are your masters. Obey or die. Jake turned off the radio. The bridge was silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. Lisa was crying quietly at her station. Ryan punched the wall and walked away. That night, Jake sent his report to Earth. He told them everything he had seen. He described the bioweapons and the complete destruction of an entire civilization. At the end of his report, he wrote something that was not in his orders. Someone needs to stop them, he wrote. The Caltharians are not just conquering worlds. They are ending them. If no one stands up to them, they will kill everyone in the galaxy. Far away on Earth, Admiral Patricia Kane read Jake's report. She had been waiting for this moment. For years, humanity had been preparing in secret. They had built new ships and new weapons. They had studied every alien race and learned from their mistakes. The time for watching was over. The time for action had begun. But the Caltharians did not know this yet. They thought they were still the strongest force in the galaxy. They thought no one could challenge them. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 6 months had passed since the Zephyrian massacre. The Caltharian Empire had grown even stronger. They now controlled 52 star systems. Their bioships patrolled the space lanes like hungry sharks. No one dared to challenge them, but strange. Things were happening at the edges of Caltharian space. In a dark bar on the mining station Omega-7, a group of smugglers sat around a table. They spoke in whispers, afraid that Caltharian spies might hear them. I'm telling you, I saw it with my own eyes, said a scarred man named Torvik. He was a Centauri trader who had been smuggling goods for 20 years. A ship came out of nowhere. It was bigger than anything I've ever seen, but it moved like a ghost. You're drunk, laughed another smuggler. No one fights the Caltharians and lives. I'm not drunk. Torvik slammed his drink on the table. 3 Caltharian patrol ships were checking cargo near the Void Nebula. This ghost ship appeared behind them. Before they could even turn around, all 3 ships were gone. Just gone. No explosions, no debris, nothing. The other smugglers looked at each other. Similar stories had been spreading through the criminal underworld for weeks, ships appearing from nowhere. Caltharian patrols vanishing without a trace. Mining stations found empty with no signs of what happened to the guards. On the bridge of the Caltharian command ship Dark Hunger, Captain Zixtal read the latest reports. He was getting tired of these wild stories. Ghosts and phantom ships were things that scared children, not soldiers of the mighty Caltharian Empire. Another patrol has gone missing, his aide reported. That makes 12 this month. Zixtal's red eyes narrowed. Equipment failure. Navigation errors. The crews probably got lost in an asteroid field. Yes, sir, the aide said. But he looked worried. Should we increase patrols in that sector? No, we will not waste resources chasing shadows. But the shadows were very real. Deep in space, far from any star, the TD's retribution moved through the darkness. The ship was like nothing that had ever been built before. It was 2 miles long and covered in black metal that seemed to absorb light. No sensors could detect it when it did not want to be found. On the bridge, Captain Alex Turner studied the tactical display. He was a tall man with gray hair and cold blue eyes. He had been a soldier for 30 years, fighting in wars across human space. Now he commanded humanity's most advanced warship. "Target acquired," said Chief Tactical Officer Maria Santos. She was a small woman with quick hands and a sharp mind. The weapons she controlled could destroy a city in seconds. Calfarian supply convoy, 3 ships, minimal escort. Distance? Alex asked. 2 million kilometers in closing. Alex nodded. "Ben, take us in." Silent approach. Navigation specialist Ben Walker typed commands into his console. The Retribution changed course without making a sound. The ship's quantum drive let it move through space in ways that other races had never imagined. 30 seconds to weapons range, Maria reported. Alex looked at the main screen. 3 fat Caltharian cargo. Ships were carrying supplies to a military base. 2 smaller escort ships protected them. The bioships looked confident and dangerous, but they had no idea death was approaching. "Maria, I want clean kills. No survivors, no distress signals." "Understood, Captain." The Retribution's weapons were not like anything the Caltharians had ever faced. They did not fire energy beams or explosive missiles. Instead, they shot streams of particles that could pass through any known shield. The particles would find the most important parts of an enemy ship and destroy them from the inside. Firing. Maria said quietly. On the screen, the 5 Caltharian ships suddenly went dark. Their lights went out. Their engines stopped. Their weapons powered down. In the space of 3 seconds, they had become floating tombs. Any response? Alex asked. Communications Officer Katie Lewis shook her head. "Nothing, sir." They never knew. What hit them? Alex allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Set course for the next target." The Retribution disappeared back into the darkness, leaving no trace that it had ever been there. The dead ships would not be found for days. When they were, there would be no clues about what had killed them. This was the 5th such attack in 2 weeks. Each time, the mysterious ship struck without warning and vanished without a trace. The Caltharian High Command was starting to worry. In his palace on the capital world of Caltha Prime, Supreme Admiral Vextar studied the reports. His red eyes glowed with anger as he read about the missing ships and silent attacks. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked his intelligence chief. 47 vessels in the last 6 months, my lord. All in different sectors. All with no survivors or witnesses. Vextar's tentacles writhed with rage. "This is impossible." Number. Race in the galaxy has the technology to challenge us. Perhaps it is not a known race, my lord. Perhaps it is something new. New? Vextar laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "We have conquered everything worth conquering. There is nothing new." But even as he spoke, Vextar felt a cold fear in his heart. The Caltharian Empire had ruled for 3 centuries because they were the strongest. If something stronger had appeared, what would happen to his people? On the mining world of Kepler 9, the workers had been slaves for 10 years. The Caltharians had taken over their planet and forced them to dig rare metals from the ground. Anyone who complained was fed to the bioships, but today something was different. The Caltharian guards seemed nervous. They kept looking at the sky as if they expected something to fall from it. "What's wrong with them?" whispered a human worker named Tom Hayes. "I heard rumors," said another worker. "Ships have been disappearing. Caltharian ships. Someone is hunting them." Tom almost laughed. "That's impossible. No one can fight the Caltharians." "Maybe someone can," the other worker said. "Maybe someone finally got tired of watching them kill everyone." High above the planet, The Retribution watched and waited. Soon, it would be time to free the slaves and show the galaxy that the Caltharian Empire was not as strong as it seemed. But first, there were more supply ships to destroy, more patrols to eliminate, more fear to spread through the ranks of the alien empire. The ghost ship had work to do. And somewhere in the depths of space, Admiral Patricia Kane smiled as she read the reports from Captain Turner. The plan was working perfectly. Soon, the Caltharians would make a mistake. They would come out to fight. And when they did, humanity would be ready for them. The hunt had begun. Supreme Admiral Vextar stood in the war room of his flagship, the Devourer of Worlds. Around him, holographic displays showed the entire Caltharian Empire. Red dots marked where ships had vanished. There were too many red dots. 87 ships lost in 3 months, his war chief reported. No survivors, no witnesses, no wreckage. Vextar's red eyes burned with fury. His tentacles lashed the air like angry snakes. This phantom is making us look weak. How can we rule the galaxy if we cannot protect our own ships? My lord, perhaps we should recall the outer patrols, suggested his aide. Bring them closer to protected space. No, Vextar roared. We do not run from shadows. I want the largest battle fleet in our history assembled. We will hunt this ghost ship and destroy it. Across the Empire, the call went out. Every available warship was ordered to gather at the staging point near the Crimson Nebula. Over 300 bioships answered the call. The fleet was the most powerful force ever assembled by any race. But the ghost ship was watching. Captain Alex Turner stood on the bridge of the Retribution, studying the massive enemy fleet on his screens. The Caltharian ships looked like a swarm of giant insects floating in space. Each one was covered in spikes and weapons that moved like living things. That's a lot of firepower, said Chief Tactical Officer Maria Santos. Yes, it is, Alex agreed. But they're all bunched together. That makes them predictable. Communications Officer Katie Lewis looked up from her station. Captain, I'm intercepting Caltharian military transmissions. You need to hear this. The bridge speakers cracked to life with Vextar's voice. The alien Admiral was speaking to his fleet commanders. The Phantom ship has embarrassed us long enough, Vextar said. But we have a new strategy. Our spies tell us that several worlds harbor refugees from our conquered territories. We will take 10 million prisoners from these worlds. If the ghost ship does not surrender within 1 solar day, we will execute them all. Alex felt his blood turn cold. The Caltharians were going to murder innocent people to draw him out. He had seen this tactic before, but it never got easier. Sir? Maria asked quietly. She could see the anger on her captain's face. Alex was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke into his communicator. This is Captain Turner to all stations. Change of plans. We're going after their shipyard in the Crimson Nebula. If we can destroy their ability to build new ships, they'll have to face us directly. Deep in the ship, Engineer Ben Walker was working on the quantum drive systems. He knew they would need every advantage in the coming battle. The Retribution was fast and deadly, but it was still just one ship against hundreds. Katie, I need you to boost the quantum resonance frequency by 15%, he called out. That's past the safe limit, Katie warned. The drive could overload. Then we'll have to risk it, Ben said. If we can't outrun those bioships, we're all dead anyway. In her laboratory, Dr. Maria Santos was working on new weapons. She had studied the wreckage of Caltharian ships and learned their weaknesses. The biometal that made their hulls so strong was also their weakness. It was alive, which meant it could be killed. Computer, load ammunition type 7, she ordered. The ship's automated systems began preparing special rounds. Designed to poison the living metal of Caltharian ships, the Retribution moved through space like a hunting wolf. It stayed in the shadows between stars, invisible to enemy sensors. When it reached the Crimson Nebula, Alex was amazed by what he saw. The Caltharian shipyard was huge. It floated in the red mist of the nebula like a metal city. Dozens of new bioships were being grown in massive tanks. The sight made Alex sick. Each ship would be used to destroy another innocent world. Maria, how long to target all the construction bays? 60 seconds, sir. Do it. The Retribution's weapons fired in complete silence. Streams of poison particles shot through space and struck the shipyard. The living metal of the construction bays began to die immediately. The half-built ships dissolved like ice in hot water. Alarms began blaring across the shipyard. Caltharian workers ran in panic as their greatest construction project fell apart around them. In minutes, the work of decades was destroyed, but the attack had been detected. Captain, enemy fleet is changing course, Ben reported. They're heading straight for us. Alex smiled grimly. Good. That's exactly what we want. He opened a channel to the entire Caltharian fleet. When he spoke, his voice was broadcast across the galaxy. Attention, Caltharian Empire. This is Captain Alex Turner of the Terran defense ship Retribution. For 300 years, you have terrorized innocent civilizations. You have murdered billions and enslaved entire worlds. That ends today. The response came immediately. Vexstar's horrible voice filled the bridge. So the Phantom finally shows itself. You are just one ship against my entire fleet. What can you possibly hope to accomplish? I'm going to show the galaxy that you can be beaten, Alex replied. I'm going to prove that bullies always fall when someone stands up to them. You are insane, human. My ships will tear you apart. Then come and try. Alex cut the transmission and turned to his crew. These men and women had trained for this moment their entire careers. They were the best humanity had to offer. All stations, battle stations, he ordered. Katie, transmit our position to Earth. Make sure Admiral Kane knows what's happening here. Yes, sir. Ben, plot a course through the nebula. Use the gas clouds for cover. Understood. Maria, all weapons online. Today we make history. The young tactical officer smiled. She had been waiting for this moment too. Weapons ready, Captain. On. The main screen, the Caltharian fleet was spreading out like a net. They thought they were hunting one small ship. They had no idea they were about to face the fury of an entire species that was tired of watching others suffer. The Retribution moved deeper into the red mist of the nebula. Behind it, 300 alien warships followed like a pack of hungry predators. Neither side knew that this battle would change the galaxy forever. But in a few hours, everyone would know that humanity had arrived among the stars. And they had brought justice with them. The hunt was about to become a war. The vortex system had two bright stars that spun around each other in an endless dance. The space between them was filled with deadly radiation and twisted gravity fields. It was the perfect place for a trap. Captain Alex Turner watched the tactical display as 300 Caltharian ships entered the system. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of metal fish swimming through space. At their center was the massive devourer of worlds, Supreme Admiral Vexstar's flagship. They're taking the bait, said navigation specialist Ben Walker. He was, sweating as he made tiny adjustments to their position. One wrong move and the twin stars would tear the Retribution apart. Maria, are the special weapons ready? Alex asked. Chief Tactical Officer Maria Santos nodded. All tubes loaded with nanoscale disruptors. Dr. Santos says they should work perfectly against bioships. The nanoscale disruptors were humanity's secret weapon. They were tiny machines smaller than atoms. When they hit Caltharian bioships, They would attack the neural pathways that controlled the living metal. The ships would lose their minds. "Captain," Communications Officer Katie Lewis called out, "Vextar is broadcasting on all frequencies." The alien admiral's voice filled the bridge. "Human ship, you are surrounded. Power down your weapons and surrender. We will make your death quick." Alex picked up his communicator. "Admiral Vextar, I have a better idea. Why don't you surrender to me? I promise to put you in a nice, comfortable prison cell." The response was a roar of fury that hurt their ears. "You dare mock me? I will feed your bones to my ship." "You can try," Alex said calmly. Then he cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every innocent person these monsters have killed. Make them pay." The battle began when the Caltharian ships fired first. Streams of bioacid shot through space toward the Retribution. The deadly liquid could eat through any known armor in seconds. But the Retribution was not there when the acid arrived. "Quantum jump complete," Ben reported. The ship had teleported 2,000 miles in the blink of an eye, appearing behind. The Caltharian formation. "Fire!" Alex ordered. The Retribution's weapons lit up the darkness. Quantum torpedoes phased through Caltharian shields like they were not there. The torpedoes exploded inside enemy ships, tearing them apart from within. 6 Caltharian vessels died in the first salvo. Chief Gunner Danny Rodriguez whooped with joy as he watched the enemy ships break apart. "Take that, you ugly space bugs." But the Caltharians were not helpless. They had been fighting wars for centuries. The surviving ships spread out and began firing from all directions. Lieutenant Sarah Kim was the best pilot in the human fleet. Her hands flew over the controls as she guided the Retribution through the storm of enemy fire. The ship twisted and spun like a dancer, avoiding death by inches. "Sarah, take us through the gravity well of the first star," Alex ordered. "Use the radiation to mask our heat signature." "Sir, that's incredibly dangerous," Sarah warned. "If we get too close, the star will cook us alive. Do it anyway." Sarah gritted her teeth and dove toward the burning star. The Retribution's shields glowed white-hot as they deflected deadly radiation. But the maneuver worked. The Caltharian sensors lost track of them. "Now, Sarah, slingshot maneuver around the star. Use the gravity to increase our speed." The Retribution whipped around the star like a stone from a slingshot. When it emerged, it was moving faster than any ship had ever moved before. The sudden acceleration would have killed a normal crew, but humans were tougher than other races realized. "Target the flagship," Alex ordered. The Devourer of Worlds was the most horrible ship ever built. Its biometal hull was covered in mouths full of metal teeth. Tentacles writhed along its sides like giant snakes. The ship looked more like a monster than a machine. "Firing nanoscale disruptors," Maria announced. The tiny weapons struck the flagship's hull and began their work. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the tentacles began twitching strangely. The metal teeth started snapping at empty air. The ship's biosystems were going insane. Inside the flagship, Vextar felt his ship's pain through his neural link. The agony was terrible. "What is happening to my ship?" He screamed. His aide was checking the instruments with shaking hands. "Sir, something is attacking our bioneural networks. The ship is losing control of its basic functions." On the Retribution's bridge, Katie Lewis was monitoring enemy communications. "Captain, their ships are starting to attack each other. The nanobots are working perfectly." Alex watched in amazement as Caltharian ships turned their weapons on their own allies. The bioships could not tell friend from enemy anymore. Their living brains were being eaten by tiny machines. "All ships, focus fire on the human vessel," Vextar ordered desperately. But many of his ships could not obey. They were too busy fighting the madness in their own minds. The retribution continued its deadly dance through the battlefield. Every time Caltharian ships tried to surround it, a human ship would quantum jump to a new position. Every time they fired their bioweapons, the retribution would be somewhere else. Engineer Ben Walker was pushing the ship's systems to their limits. "Captain, the quantum drive is overheating. We can't keep this up much longer." "How long do we have?" "Maybe 10 more jumps. After that, we'll have to fight them the old-fashioned way." Alex nodded. 10 jumps would have to be enough. "Maria, target their command ships. If we can kill their leaders, the rest might surrender." The next few minutes were the most intense of the battle. The retribution appeared and disappeared like a ghost, striking the most important Caltharian ships and vanishing before they could respond. Each time it attacked, another enemy commander died, but the Caltharians were learning. They began to predict where the human ship would appear next. More and more bioacid streams filled the space around the retribution. "Hull breach on Deck 7. Bang reported. "Emergency bulkheads are holding, but barely." "We're running out of tricks," Sarah said as she dodged another volley of enemy fire. Alex looked at the tactical display. They had destroyed over 100 enemy ships, but there were still too many left. The retribution was fast and deadly, but it could not fight forever. Then Katie Lewis made a discovery that changed everything. "Captain, I'm detecting something strange. The Caltharian ships are all connected by bioneural links. They share information through organic networks." "What does that mean?" Alex asked. "It means if we can hack into their network, we can control all their ships at once." Alex stared at her. "Can you do it?" Katie's fingers flew over her console. "I'm trying to trace their communication pathways. If I can find the main control—" "No ... double quotes." She paused, then smiled. "Got it. It's on the flagship. Maria, I need you to punch a hole in that ship's defenses. Katie needs a clear shot at their central computer." "On it, Captain." The retribution made one final attack, run on the Devourer of Worlds. Every weapon fired at once, tearing through the flagship's biometal hull. For a moment, the ship's defenses were down. That moment was all Katie needed. "I'm in their system," she announced. "Uploading the virus now." Across the Caltharian fleet, ships began shutting down one by one. Their biobrains were being rewritten by human computer code. In minutes, the most powerful fleet in galactic history had become a collection of floating metal. Vexstar's voice came over the radio one last time. It was weak and full of defeat. "This is impossible. We are the Caltharian Empire. We cannot be beaten by one ship." Alex picked up his communicator for the final time. "Admiral Vexstar, you just learned something important. It's not the size of the ship that matters. It's the courage of the people inside it. The Battle of Vortex Prime was over. Humanity had won its first victory against the galaxy's greatest empire. But this was just the beginning. Soon, every world would know that Earth's children had come to the stars, and they would never bow to tyrants again." The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The mighty Caltharian Empire had been defeated by a single human ship. On 1,000 worlds, people who had lived in fear for generations dared to hope again. Captain Alex Turner stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking at the wreckage of the Caltharian fleet floating around them. Most of the enemy ships were dead in space, their biosystems shut down by Katie Lewis's computer virus. A few had tried to escape, but the human ship had hunted them down one by one. "Captain, we're receiving surrender requests from 17 Caltharian worlds." Communications Officer Katie Lewis reported. "They want to negotiate peace terms." Alex nodded. This was what he had hoped for. "Tell them we'll discuss terms after we free their prisoners." The Retribution's first stop was the prison world of Kethmer. For 50 years, the Caltharians had kept their captured enemies there. Millions of beings from dozens of different races worked in the dark mines, digging rare metals to build more bioships. When the human warship appeared in orbit, the Caltharian guards panicked. They had heard about the Battle of Vortex Prime. They knew their empire was falling apart. "This is Captain Turner to all Caltharian forces on Kethmer," Alex broadcast. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your empire is finished. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly. Resist and you will share the fate of your warships." The guards surrendered without firing a shot. Dr. Maria Santos led the medical teams that went down to the planet's surface. What she found there made her sick with anger. The prisoners were barely alive, worked nearly to death in the terrible conditions of the mines. "Get me every medical supply we have," she ordered her teams. "And contact Admiral Kane. We need hospital ships here immediately." As Maria worked to save the prisoners, her efforts were recorded and broadcast across the galaxy. Soon, every world knew that humans were not just warriors. They were healers, too. On the former Caltharian capital world, the government was in chaos. Supreme Admiral Vextar was dead, killed when his flagship's biosystems failed completely. The other admirals were fighting each other for control of what was left of the Empire, but their fighting stopped when a new message was broadcast on all frequencies. "People of the former Caltharian Empire," Captain Turner's voice said. "This is Captain Alex Turner of the Terran defense ship Retribution. Your government of conquest and murder is finished, but we are not here to replace one tyranny with another." The alien leaders listened in shock as the human captain continued. "Any world that wishes to govern itself in peace will be protected by the Terran Defense Force. Any world that continues the old ways of conquest and slavery will be stopped. The choice is yours." Across former Caltharian space, world after world chose freedom. 3 months after the battle, the Galactic Council met for the first time in centuries. The Council had been powerless under Caltharian rule, but now it could finally do its job of keeping peace between the races. Admiral Patricia Kane arrived at the Council station aboard the massive colony ship New Horizons. The ship was 10 miles long and carried 50,000 human colonists, scientists, and diplomats. It was a floating city that showed the galaxy what humans could build when they worked together. "The Council recognizes Admiral Patricia Kane of the Terran Colonial Authority," announced the Council speaker, a wise old being called Moderator QIL single quotes. Then Patricia stood up in the Great Hall. Around her sat representatives from 47 different worlds, all free now because of what one human ship had accomplished. "Honored representatives," she began. 6 months ago, the galaxy lived in fear. Today, we live in hope. Humanity did not come to your worlds as conquerors. We came as liberators. We ask for nothing except the chance to live in peace with all races." The response was immediate. Every representative stood up and applauded. Many of them were crying with joy. "The Galactic Council hereby invites humanity to join as a founding member of the new Democratic Alliance," Moderator Kilthin announced. "Will you accept?" "We accept with honor," Patricia replied, but not everyone was celebrating. In the dark corners of the galaxy, other evil empires watched and planned. The Shadow Lord Confederation had ruled 12 systems through fear and dark magic. The Hive Mind Collective had consumed entire worlds, turning their populations into mindless drones. These empires had stayed quiet while the Caltharians were strong, but now they saw opportunity. "The humans destroyed the Caltharians with just one ship," hissed Shadow Lord Nalaker. "But they cannot be everywhere at once. We will strike while they are weak." But the Shadow Lords had made the same mistake as the Caltharians. They thought humans were just another race with just another ship. They were wrong. 6 months after the Battle of Vortex Prime, Captain Alex Turner received new orders. From Admiral Kane, intelligence reports showed that the Shadow Lord Confederation was planning attacks on newly freed worlds. "It seems our work is not finished," Alex told his crew as they gathered in the ship's briefing room. Chief Tactical Officer Maria Santos smiled. "Good. I was getting bored with all this peace." Navigation Specialist Ben Walker laughed. "Speak for yourself. I was enjoying not being shot at every day." "Well, get ready to be shot at again," Alex said. "Because we're about to show another group of bullies what happens when they threaten innocent people." The crew of the Retribution had become legends across the galaxy. Songs were sung about their victory over the Caltharian Empire. Children on 100 worlds played games, pretending to be the brave humans who had saved everyone. But the crew themselves remained humble. They knew they had just done their duty. "Captain," Katie Lewis said, "we're receiving a message from the prison world of Kethmer. The former prisoners want to thank us personally." On the main screen, dozens of different alien faces appeared. They were the people Dr. Maria Santos had saved from the Caltharian mines. They looked healthy and happy now. "Captain Turner," said their spokesman, a blue-skinned Zephyrian named Veltar. "We wanted you to know that our children will learn your names. They will know that when darkness covered the galaxy, humans brought the light." Alex felt his throat tighten with emotion. This was why they fought. Not for glory or conquest, but so that children could grow up free. "Thank you," he said simply. "But remember, you freed yourselves. We just gave you the chance." As the transmission ended, Alex looked around at his crew. These men and women had changed the galaxy forever. They had shown that good could triumph over evil, that the strong should protect the weak, and that freedom was worth any price. "All right, people," he said, standing up. "Let's go teach the Shadow Lords the same lesson we taught the Caltharians." The crew grinned and headed to their stations. They had work to do not far away on Earth. Admiral Patricia Kane watched the stars through her office window. Reports were coming in from across human space. New colonies were being established. New ships were being built. New alliances were being formed with alien races who had never trusted anyone before. Humanity had taken its first steps into the larger galaxy, and those steps had been sure and strong. The age of human tyranny ruling the stars was over. The age of human protection had begun, and in the darkness between the stars, the TDS Retribution moved silently toward its next mission. The ghost ship had become something more than a weapon. It had become a symbol of hope for everyone who refused to bow to evil. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers. But now it had protectors who would never give up, never surrender, and never let innocents suffer while they could fight. The stars belonged to everyone now, and humanity would make sure it stayed that way.
The alarm sounded throughout Orbital Repair Station Delta 9, a sharp, blaring noise that made Captain Olivia Summers jump in her chair. Her coffee splashed onto the control panel. She quickly wiped it away and checked the screens. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice steady despite the sudden rush of adrenaline. Sam Peters, the young radar technician with curly red hair, pointed at his screen. His eyes were wide. "Something big just came out of nowhere, Captain. About 200 miles from our position. It's not one of ours." Olivia leaned forward. The object on the screen was massive, at least 3 times the size of the largest Earth ship. Its shape was like nothing she had ever seen before, with curved sections that seemed to flow into each other without clear edges. "Send out the alert. Start first contact protocols," she ordered, trying to keep her voice calm. Inside, her heart was racing. This was not a drill. This was the real thing. The station's crew moved quickly. Some were scared, others excited. No one had expected to meet aliens today. Earth had been sending signals into space for over 100 years, but no one had answered until now. The strange ship slowed as it approached, stopping at a safe distance. It made no aggressive moves. That was a good sign. "We're getting a transmission," called out Mia Johnson from the communication station. She was new, only 3 months on the job, but she worked the controls like an expert. I think they're trying to speak English." The main screen flickered, and an image appeared. The being on the screen was tall, with 6 limbs and blue-gray, skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. Its head was oblong with 4 eyes placed in a diamond pattern. It wore something that might have been a uniform, though the design was strange to human eyes. "Greetings, Earth Station," the alien said. Its voice had an odd musical quality, but the words were clear enough. "I am High Engineer Zaxtil of the Vexari ship Celestial Wanderer. We request your assistance." The room fell silent. Olivia stepped forward. "This is Captain Olivia Summers of Orbital Repair Station Delta 9. We welcome you to Earth space. How can we assist you?" The alien, Zaxtil, made a gesture with its upper limbs that might have been a bow. "Our propulsion system was damaged in a spatial anomaly. We require repairs before we can continue our journey." Olivia frowned slightly. "We're honored by your request, High Engineer, but I'm curious. Our scans show your ship passed several star systems before reaching Earth. Didn't they have repair facilities?" The 4 alien eyes blinked in sequence. "Yes, we passed 3 of our own repair stations. We chose to come here." "May I ask why?" Zaxtil made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Word travels quickly through the stars about human ingenuity. We wish to see it for ourselves." Within hours, the massive alien vessel was carefully guided into the largest repair bay on Delta 9. The bay had been designed to hold Earth's biggest ships, but the Celestial Wanderer barely fit. Its hull gleamed under the bright lights covered in strange symbols and patterns. Frank Collins walked slowly around the damaged section of the ship. He was the oldest engineer on the station, with gray hair and hands made rough by decades of work. His eyes narrowed as he studied the twisted metal and burned components. "This is odd," he muttered to himself. "The damage pattern. It doesn't look right." Behind him, a group of the alien visitors watched. They were taller than humans, with their 6 limbs and strange eyes. They spoke among themselves in quick, chirping sounds. "What do you mean it doesn't look right?" asked Rick Adams, a younger engineer who often worked with Frank. Frank pointed at the damaged area. "See these burn marks? They're too even. And these broken connectors here, they're snapped in exactly the same way. It almost looks deliberate." Rick's eyes widened. "You think they damaged their own ship? Why would they do that?" Frank shrugged. "I don't know, but I've been fixing things for 40 years and accidents are messy. This is too clean." Across the repair bay, Captain Summers was speaking with several station officials and Earth government representatives who had arrived on an emergency shuttle. The first official contact with an alien species was a big deal. Everyone wanted to be part of it. "We need to establish formal diplomatic protocols," a serious woman in a gray suit was saying. "There are procedures for this kind of situation." Olivia nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. She watched the aliens as they moved around their ship, showing parts of it to the human engineers. They seemed friendly enough, but there was something about the situation that didn't add up. Why travel 17 light-years past your own repair stations just to come here? She wondered aloud. "Captain?" called a voice from across the bay. It was Diane Porter, the lead repair technician. She was waving Olivia over to where she stood with several of the aliens. "You need to see this," Diane said when Olivia reached her. Her face was flushed with excitement. Diane led them into the alien ship through an open hatch. The interior was strange, with curved walls and a light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. They walked through several chambers, before reaching what appeared to be an engine room. "This is their propulsion system," Diane explained, pointing to a complex arrangement of machinery. "It's amazing technology far beyond what we have, but the damage..." She pointed to a burned-out section. "It would take months to repair using their methods. They have these incredibly detailed repair manuals, but the procedures are so complex. Can we help them at all?" Olivia asked. Diane grinned. That's just it. I think we can fix it in 2 weeks, maybe less. We'd need to improvise a bit, use some of our materials instead of waiting for theirs. But it should work. One of the aliens, not Zaxtil but another official, made a concerned sound. Your approach would violate our standard procedures, it said in careful English. There are safety protocols. Diane shrugged. Sometimes you have to work with what you've got. The aliens looked at each other, their 4 eyes blinking in that strange sequence. Then Zaxtil stepped forward. This is why we came to humans, the alien said. This is exactly what we hope to find. As they left the engine room, Olivia noticed Frank Collins standing in a corner, watching everything with careful eyes. He gave her a small nod, confirming her own suspicions. The aliens had come here for a reason, and it wasn't just to fix their ship. The next morning, Diane Porter arrived at the repair bay early. She had barely slept. Her mind was full of ideas about how to fix the alien ship. The Vexari repair manuals were complex, with hundreds of steps for even simple fixes. But Diane saw shortcuts everywhere. She found 3 of the Vexari engineers already there. They stood perfectly still, their 4 eyes watching as she set up her tools. Good morning, she said with a smile. Ready to get to work? The tallest alien made a gesture that might have been a greeting. We are curious about your methods, Engineer Porter. They are not like ours. Diane laughed. Call me Diane, and yeah, I bet they're not. She opened her tablet and showed them her plans. The aliens leaned forward, all 12 of their eyes fixed on the screen. This is impossible, one of them said. Its voice was higher than the others, almost like a whistle. You cannot replace the damaged quantum coil with this earth metal. Why not? Diane asked. The properties are similar enough, it'll work. It will fail within days, another alien said. Diane shrugged. Then we'll fix it again, but I think it'll hold longer than you expect. The aliens chittered among themselves in their own language. They seemed upset or maybe just confused. Finally, they agreed to let her try it her way. As the day went on, more humans and aliens gathered to watch. Diane worked quickly, sometimes stopping to ask questions about how certain systems functioned. When she learned that a special welding tool was needed, one that would take weeks to arrive from the nearest Vexari outpost, she simply shook her head. We can use this instead, she said, pulling out a modified earth tool. We developed it for underwater repairs on the Atlantic seabed platforms. The principle is the same. This violates 17 safety protocols, one of the aliens chittered nervously. Yeah, but it'll work, Diane replied with a shrug. And it did work. By the end of the day, she had completed repairs that should have taken a week according to the Vexari manuals. Frank Collins watched from a distance. He stood next to Captain Summers, his arms crossed over his chest. They're recording everything she does, he said quietly. See those small devices they're carrying? They're not just watching, they're studying her. Olivia nodded. I've noticed, but why? Their technology is more advanced than ours. Technology, sure, Frank agreed, but maybe not innovation. Did you see how shocked they were when she used the seabed welder? It's like they never considered using a tool for anything other than its original purpose. Over the next few days, the pattern continued. The human engineers found creative solutions to problems that would have taken the Vexari much longer to solve. Each time, the aliens watched with that same mixture of horror and fascination. By the end of the week, the damage to the main propulsion system was nearly repaired. Diane's team had worked almost non-stop, excited by the chance to learn about alien technology. Let's test it, Diane suggested after connecting the final components. The Vexari engineers looked nervous. Our protocols require a 48-hour waiting period before testing, High Engineer Zaxtil said. Why wait if it's ready? Diane asked. If there's a problem, we'll fix it. After some discussion, the aliens agreed. They powered up the system slowly while everyone watched. The repaired section hummed to life, glowing with a soft blue light. The Vexari checked their instruments, their 4 eyes blinking rapidly. This is unexpected, Zaxtil said finally. The system is operating at 123% of its previous efficiency. A cheer went up from the human workers. Diane grinned widely. How is this possible? Another Vexari asked. The repairs do not follow standard procedure. Sometimes the book doesn't have all the answers, Diane said. You have to improvise. The word seemed new to the aliens. Improvise, Zaxtil repeated slowly. This concept is important to humans? It's how we solve problems, Diane explained. We work with what we have, not what we wish we had. That evening, Captain Summers hosted a small celebration in the station's mess hall. The repairs had been completed in just 9 days instead of the months everyone had expected. The Vexari joined the party, though they didn't eat or drink anything. They just watched the humans, still recording everything. Olivia found Frank at a table in the corner. He was nursing a cup of coffee and watching the aliens with suspicious eyes. You still don't trust them? She asked, sitting down beside him. Frank sighed. It's not about trust, I'm just trying to understand their angle. Nobody travels 17 light years past their own repair stations unless they want something specific. Maybe they just wanted their ship fixed faster, Olivia suggested. Maybe, Frank agreed. But I think they're after something else. Knowledge, maybe? They keep asking about how we think, how we solve problems. Across the room, several of the Vexari engineers had surrounded Diane. They were asking her questions about Earth's education system, about how humans learn to repair things. Why do humans try methods that might fail? One of the aliens asked. Diane thought for a moment. Because sometimes they work, and when they do, we learn something new. But failure is inefficient, the alien said. Failure is how we learn, Diane countered. Every failed attempt teaches us something we didn't know before. The aliens discussed this among themselves, their chittering voices excited. 2 days later, the Celestial Wanderer prepared to leave. The massive ship backed slowly out of the repair bay, its engines glowing with that soft blue light. Thank you for your assistance, High Engineer Zaxtil said during the farewell ceremony. Your methods are enlightening. You're welcome back. Any time, Captain Summers replied diplomatically. As the alien ship pulled away from the station, Olivia stood with Frank and Diane at the observation window, watching it go. I have a feeling we'll be seeing more of them, Olivia said. Frank nodded. And not just them. If word gets out about how quickly we fixed their ship, word travels fast, even in space, Diane finished for him. None of them realized just how right they were. The Celestial Wanderer was only the beginning. 3 weeks after the Vexari ship left, life on Delta 9 had almost returned to normal. The excitement of first contact had faded. People still talked about the aliens, but the daily work of repairing Earth ships continued. Captain Olivia Summers was in her office reviewing maintenance schedules when the alarm sounded again. The same alarm that had announced the arrival of the Celestial Wanderer. Another one, she muttered, rising quickly from her desk. On the main deck, the crew was already at their stations. Sam Peters, the radar technician, looked up as Olivia entered. It's another alien ship, Captain, he said. Different design from the Vexari vessel. This one seems to be partially organic. Olivia looked at the main screen. The approaching ship was smaller than the Vexari craft, but still larger than any human vessel. Its hull appeared to be a mix of metal and something that looked almost like living tissue. It pulsed gently as if breathing. They're sending a transmission, Mia Johnson called from communications. The screen changed to show a new alien. This one was shorter and wider than the Vexari, with smooth green skin and large bulbous eyes. When it spoke, its voice was deep and rumbling. Greetings, humans of Delta 9. I am Captain Zoltark of the Mirazi vessel Living Tide. We request permission to dock for repairs. Olivia stepped forward. This is Captain Summers. We welcome you to Earth space. May I ask how you know about our station? The alien made a sound like gentle thunder. Word spreads quickly among the stars. The Vexari speak highly of your unconventional methods. Within hours, the Mirazi ship was secured in a repair bay. The alien crew emerged cautiously. They seemed uncomfortable in the station's environment, their skin glistening with a thin layer of moisture. Frank Collins met Olivia near the docking area. 2 alien ships in a month, he said. What are the odds? Not a coincidence, Olivia replied. They said the Vexari told them about us. Frank nodded. And look at their ship. The damage is to their navigation system. They could have gone to any of 3 Mirazi outposts that we know about from their star charts. But they came here instead. Diane Porter and her team were already examining the damaged ship. The Mirazi technology was completely different from the Vexari's. Their systems were partly biological, with living components that had been injured rather than just damaged. This is fascinating, Diane said as she studied the wounded navigation node. It's like a blend of technology and living tissue. It requires special nutrients to heal, one of the Mirazi engineers explained. The healing process takes many cycles of our sun. Diane thought for a moment. What if we used a growth accelerator? The kind we've developed for medical regeneration? The aliens looked at each other in surprise. That is not in our repair protocols, the lead engineer said. Diane grinned. Well, it's in ours now. Over the next few days, more of the station's crew became involved in the repairs. The Mirazi watched with the same fascination the Vexari had shown, recording everything the humans did. Meanwhile, Heather Rogers, the station's security officer, was becoming concerned. During a routine security sweep, she had detected unusual energy readings coming from a section of the station that had been empty since the Vexari visit. I need access to the old storage area in Section 12, she told Olivia during their daily briefing. What's wrong? Olivia asked. Maybe nothing, Heather replied, but I'm picking up some strange readings. Could be a malfunction in the sensors, but I want to check it out. Olivia nodded. Take Gary Washington with you. He knows the systems better than anyone. Heather and Gary made their way to Section 12. It was a rarely used area of the station, filled with old equipment and spare parts. The lights flickered on automatically as they entered. The readings are coming from behind that wall panel, Heather said, pointing to a section of the wall. Gary opened the panel and peered inside. His eyes widened. This definitely isn't ours. Inside the wall was a small device, about the size of a fist. It glowed with a soft blue light, the same color as the Vexari ship's engines. Some kind of transmitter, Gary said as he examined it. It's sending data somewhere. Can you tell what kind of data? Heather asked. Gary connected his tablet to the device. It's everything. Station schematics, repair procedures, crew profiles. And look at this. He pointed to a string of code on his screen. It's transmitting on a frequency that can be detected from several light years away. The Vexari left it, Heather realized. They've been spying on us. Not exactly spying, Gary said, still studying the device. More like observing. There's no classified data here, just information about how we do repairs, how we solve problems. By the time they reported back to Olivia, the Mirazi repairs were almost complete. Diane's team had used the medical regenerator to accelerate the healing of the organic components. What should have taken weeks had been accomplished in days. So the Vexari left a recording device, Olivia said thoughtfully after hearing Heather and Gary's report. And now the Mirazi show up, asking for our help. It's not just those 2 species, Frank added. I've been talking to the Mirazi engineers. They mentioned that at least 3 other species are planning to visit Delta 9 for repairs. But why? Olivia asked. Their technology is more advanced than ours. The answer came a week later, when a small, fast ship arrived at the station. It was from the Diplomatic Division of Earth's United Space Administration. The officials on board looked serious. Captain Summers, the lead diplomat said, we need to talk about these alien visits. In the station's conference room, the diplomat explained the situation. In the last month, we've received requests from 14 different alien species for permission to visit Earth repair facilities. Not just Delta 9, but all of our stations. 14? Olivia was shocked. Why the sudden interest? The diplomat played a recording. It showed a Jurioyan ship, a crystalline vessel that sparkled in the light of a distant sun. The Jurioyan captain was explaining why they were traveling to Earth instead of using their own repair facilities. The humans have a different way of seeing problems, the captain said. Its voice was musical like crystal bells. They do not follow rigid procedures. They improvise. This concept is valuable to us. Very valuable. After the meeting, Olivia found Frank and Diane in the mess hall. You were right, she told Frank. They're not just coming here for repairs. They're coming here to learn how we think. Frank nodded. We may not have the most advanced technology, but we have something. They don't. Creativity, Diane said. The ability to try new things, to fail, to learn from those failures. As they spoke, another alarm sounded. Not the proximity alarm this time, but a different one. Now what? Olivia sighed. The announcement came over the station's speakers. Incoming transmission from the diplomatic courier of the nth dimension. Collective. They're requesting emergency repairs. Olivia looked at Frank and Diane. All three of them smiled. Here we go again, Olivia said. 3 months later, Delta 9 was no longer just a repair station. It had become a busy hub of interstellar activity. 6 different alien ships were currently docked for repairs, and more were waiting in line. The station had to expand quickly. To handle all the new visitors, Earth's government had called in experts from all fields to study the situation. One of these experts was Dr. Kyle Bennett, a xenoanthropologist who specialized in understanding alien cultures. Dr. Bennett was a tall man with a short beard and kind eyes. He spent his first week on Delta 9 just watching the interactions between humans and aliens. He observed how the repair teams worked, how the aliens responded, and how problems were solved. On his 8th day, he requested a meeting with Captain Summers. I think I understand why they're all coming here, he said when they met in Olivia's office. It's not just about our repair techniques. It's about how our brains work. Olivia leaned forward. What do you mean? I've been studying the species that have visited so far, Dr. Bennett explained. The Vexari evolved in underground cave systems with very stable environments. The Murazi developed in symbiotic colonies where every action affected the whole group. The Jurioyan's crystalline biology requires perfect symmetry and balance. And what does that tell us? Olivia asked. It tells us why they think so differently from humans, Dr. Bennett said. These species all evolved in environments that rewarded careful planning, strict adherence to patterns, and risk avoidance. Any deviation could mean death for their ancestors. He pulled out a tablet and showed Olivia some images. But humans, we evolved as adaptable generalists on a planet with wildly changing weather, geography, and co-inhabitants. Our ancestors survived because they could try new things when the old ways stopped working. Olivia considered this. So you're saying they physically can't think the way we do, even though they're intelligent? Exactly, Dr. Bennett nodded. Their brains are wired for precision and consistency. Ours are wired for adaptation and improvisation. It's not better or worse, just different. But in certain situations, like unexpected breakdowns, our way works better, Olivia finished. Much better, Dr. Bennett agreed. That's why they're willing to travel so far to reach us. They're not coming to steal our technology. They have better tech than us in many ways. They're coming because they literally cannot think the way we do. As if to prove Dr. Bennett's point, something happened that same day in Repair Bay 3. The nth Dimension Collective's ship had a problem with its quantum field stabilizer, a device that no human fully understood. It was advanced technology that even the aliens struggled to explain. Lisa Martinez, one of the newer engineers on the station, was eating lunch near the stabilizer, while the alien engineers discussed the problem in their clicking, buzzing language. As she stood up to leave, she accidentally dropped her sandwich. It fell directly into an open panel on the stabilizer. There was a brief flash of light. Everyone froze, expecting a disaster. But instead, the stabilizer's display showed green across the board. It was working perfectly. The nth dimension engineers crowded around, their eye stalks waving in excitement. How did you know to do that? One of them asked Lisa. I didn't, she admitted. I dropped my sandwich by accident. The aliens conferred among themselves, then turned back to her. The organic particles from your food created a resonance. pattern that stabilized the quantum field. This solution has eluded our scientists for centuries. Lisa blinked in surprise. Really? It was just an accident. A fortunate accident, the alien replied. One that our species would never have experienced because we would never consume food near sensitive equipment. It is against all safety protocols. Word of the sandwich incident spread quickly around the station. When Dr. Bennett heard about it, he included it in his report to Earth's government. Humans see accidents as learning opportunities, he wrote. Many species consider accidents only as failures. This fundamental difference in perspective gives humanity a unique advantage in problem solving. Meanwhile, the government was dealing with the political aspects of the situation. 14 alien species were now regular visitors to Earth's repair facilities. Each of them brought new technology, new ideas, and new opportunities for trade. Earth's economy was booming from the Yori, exchange of knowledge and resources. But some people were worried. What if the aliens were just using humans? What if they were secretly gathering information for a future invasion? A group of government officials arrived at Delta 9 to assess the situation. They were led by a serious woman named Director Julia Ward. She called a meeting with Captain Summers, Dr. Bennett, and several other key personnel. We need to understand the security implications, Director Ward said. These aliens are studying us, learning how we think. Yes, Dr. Bennett agreed, but not for the reasons you fear. They admire our thinking. They can't replicate it themselves because their brains don't work the same way. Can we be sure of that? Director Ward asked. Frank Collins, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. I think we can. I've been watching them carefully. They're genuinely amazed by what we can do. When Diane fixed the Minarese ship in 2 days, instead of 2 months, they were shocked. When Lisa solved a centuries-old problem by dropping a sandwich, well, they couldn't believe it. Director Ward still looked unconvinced. But why leave recording devices? Why study us so closely? Because they're trying to understand creativity, Dr. Bennett explained. Imagine if you met a species that could do something you found impossible, like breathe underwater or see in the dark. Wouldn't you want to study them? Learn from them? The meeting continued for hours. By the end, Director Ward seemed less concerned, though still cautious. We'll proceed with these interactions, she said, but we'll set up an oversight committee to monitor all technology and information exchanges. As the government officials prepared to leave, an engineer rushed into the room. It was Rick Adams, looking excited. Captain, you need to see this, he said. The Jurioians just showed us how their crystalline propulsion system works. If we can adapt this technology for our ships, we could reach the outer planets in days instead of months. Director Ward raised an eyebrow. It seems the exchange of knowledge goes both ways. After everyone left, Olivia stood alone at the observation window, looking out at the alien ships docked at her station. She thought about what Dr. Bennett had said about different ways of thinking. They have the technology, she murmured to herself. But we have the creativity. Together, we might go further than either of us could alone. Behind her, another alarm sounded. Yet another alien ship was arriving at Delta 9. 2 years passed quickly. The small repair station known as Delta 9 had grown into a massive complex. 4 new docking bays had been added, each designed to handle the largest alien vessels. Similar facilities were being built at Earth's Lagrange, points and on the Moon. Captain Olivia Summers was now Admiral Summers in charge of all Earth's repair operations. She stood in her new office looking out at the busy activity through the large window. Dozens of ships from many different species moved carefully around the expanded station. Admiral, her assistant called from the doorway. The Earth Council is ready for your report. Olivia nodded and turned to the large screen on her wall. It flickered to life, showing the faces of Earth's leaders. Admiral Summers, the Council President said with a smile. Tell us how things are progressing at the Interstellar Repair Hub. Very well, Madam President, Olivia replied. In the past month alone, we've serviced ships from 23 different species. Our repair teams are working around the clock. And the economic benefits? Another counselor asked. Better than we expected, Olivia said. The aliens pay premium rates for our intuitive services, as they call them, and each repair teaches us more about their technology. The meeting continued for an hour, with Olivia explaining the latest developments. When it was over, she went to find Frank Collins. Frank had officially retired last year, but he still came to the station most days. He liked to sit in the observation lounge and watch the repairs in progress. That's where Olivia found him, nursing a cup of coffee and observing a team working on a Vexari cruiser. "Still keeping an eye on everything?" she asked, sitting beside him. Frank smiled. "Old habits die hard. Besides, I like to see how the young ones are doing." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the repair team. Diane Porter was now the chief engineer for the entire hub. She was training a group of new engineers, showing them how to interface human tools with alien technology. "Did you ever think we'd end up here?" Olivia asked. "When that first ship arrived?" Frank shook his head. "Never. I was too busy being suspicious to see the possibilities." "You were right to be cautious," Olivia said, "but I'm glad it worked out the way it did." Later that day, Olivia received word that a special visitor had arrived. The Vexari High Chancellor, the leader of their entire civilization, had come to tour the facility. The High Chancellor was taller than other Vexari, with skin that shimmered with a blue-green light. When Olivia met him in the diplomatic reception area, he made a deep bow. "Admiral Summers," he said in a musical voice. "It is an honor to meet the human who started this great exchange between our peoples." "The honor is mine, High Chancellor," Olivia replied. "Though I can't take credit for what happened. It was a team effort." The High Chancellor asked for a tour of the station. As they walked, he explained why the Vexari had come to Earth in the first place. "We detected your radio signals for over a century before making contact," he said. "Your fiction, what you call MacGyver and Apollo 13, these we thought were exaggerations. When our ships first observed humans repairing your International Space Station using what appeared to be duct tape, we realized your species possessed something precious that the galaxy had lost long ago. Beautiful, chaotic creativity." Olivia laughed. "Duct tape has saved more missions than I can count." They stopped at a viewing window overlooking Repair Bay 2. Inside, a team led by Lisa Martinez, now a senior engineer after her famous sandwich incident, was working on a ship from a newly contacted species. The aliens watched in fascination as Lisa improvised a solution using parts from 3 different worlds. "See how they solved the problem?" the High Chancellor said, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "They try things that should not work but somehow do. My people would never think to combine components in such a way." "It's just how we think," Olivia said. The High Chancellor turned to her. "It is more than that. It is why we chose your repair bays, why all species now come to you. Your greatest technology is not your tools but your minds." That evening, a celebration was held in the station's main hall. Representatives from 14 alien species mingled with humans, sharing stories and ideas. Dr. Bennett moved among them, still studying the cultural exchanges with fascination. He found Olivia standing with Frank, watching the crowd. "The Galactic Council meeting is next month," Dr. Bennett said. "Earth will be formally recognized as a member." "About time," Frank said with a smile. "We've been fixing their ships for 2 years now." "It's more than that," Dr. Bennett explained. "Our position as the galaxy's repair hub has created an unexpected advantage. No species wants to antagonize the civilization they might need to save their ships during an emergency. Peace through practical necessity," Olivia mused. "I like it." Across the room, Diane was showing a group of young aliens and humans how to create an emergency patch using materials from 3 different worlds. Her hands moved quickly, weaving together the different components. The aliens watched with that familiar mixture of horror and fascination, while the human students nodded in understanding. "I remember when High Engineer Zaxtil first watched me work," Diane told them. "He couldn't believe I was breaking all those safety protocols. But sometimes the best solution isn't the most elegant one. It's the one that gets you home." Later, as the celebration wound down, Olivia found herself back at the observation window, looking out at the stars. Frank joined her there, along with Diane, Lisa, and Dr. Bennett. "I asked Zaxtil once why they recorded everything we did," Diane said. "He told me they were trying to understand our intuitive leaps. They can follow our steps, but they can't see how we jump from problem to solution. It's like trying to explain color to someone who can only see in black and white, Dr. Bennett added. They understand the concept, but they can't experience it themselves. So we're the creative consultants of the galaxy, Lisa said with a laugh. More than that, Frank said quietly. We're the problem solvers, the fixers, the ones who look at a broken thing and see all the ways it might be fixed. Outside the window, a new ship was approaching the station. Its design was unlike any they had seen before, a new species coming to Earth for help. Here we go again, Olivia said with a smile. The story of humanity's rise as the galaxy's premier repair specialists became legendary, told in spaceports and on long-haul freighters throughout the stars. Alien ships continued choosing human repair bays not because humans had the most advanced technology, but because they approached problems with a creativity born from millennia of chaotic adaptation, seeing possibilities where other species saw only obstacles. And as humanity spread among the stars, they carried their most valuable export, the ability to look at a broken thing and imagine all the improbable ways it might be mended.